lovers, it is G-Swizz here, and I am here today to talk about the biggest books on my TBR. If you didn't know, this is a 7 on Sunday topic, and I am the host of 7 on Sunday. I will link the Goodreads page down in the description where you can check it out, and you can participate in a topic in the future, or you can suggest a topic. And I tend to bring this topic in every once in a while, maybe every year or a year and a half or so, just so that we can review the large books that we've accumulated on our TBR pile. Since my last video, I have accumulated much chunkier books. I noticed that the books that I shared in that video were at an average of between 550 and 600 pages. And I don't think any of the books I'm going to be sharing in this video today are under 600 pages actually. And the only books slash series I will not be bringing up in this video, because it's just going to get a little bit too repetitive if I bring it up, are any of Brandon Sanderson's books. As much as I would love to talk about how intimidating Brando Sanders' books are, I've already mentioned it like once or twice anyway, don't need to bring it up again. And we all know that the Stormlight Archive series have books that are around 1,000 pages. So it's not like I have to bring that up again. And it's not like any of these books exceed that page count. However, I don't think I've had this many chunky books on my TBR for a while. And a big reason why I have such chunky books on my TBR is because I'm not just turning to traditionally published fiction anymore. I'm also moving into reading more independently published books. And being that some of them are independently published, my assumption is that the authors have some sort of liberty in terms of how far they want to go with some of their books. And some of the books I will bring up in this TBR pile today happen to be sequels in those series. So I guess without further ado, let's get straight into this large TBR. I think I will be starting from the smallest to the largest currently. Clocking in at 610 pages, we have Shadow Princess by Caroline Peckham and Susan Valenti. This is the 4th book in the Zodiac Academy series, and I don't have the physical copies of the books past book 4, so this is currently the largest Zodiac Academy book on my shelves at the moment. And what I can say about the Zodiac Academy series is that I do want to read it, but I'm pretty hesitant. And I think I'm even more hesitant because as I'm filming this video, I'm actually currently in the middle of reading the Bonds That Tie series. And while I wouldn't say that the Bonds That Tie series isn't like an explicit bully romance, it is indeed a hate to love romance with minor bully romance themes, but it doesn't really go too far. I hear that Zodiac Academy goes far, at least in the first book or two, and it is a bully romance, by the way, or at least it starts off as a bully romance. I'm thinking to myself, if I'm having trouble with the Bonds That Tie series at the very beginning, even though it's probably not as bad as the beginning of Zodiac Academy, I just know that I'm gonna have so much trouble with the first couple of books of Zodiac Academy. I hear that the romance does get better throughout the books. I at least want reviews of book 9 before I consider picking the series up for the first time. I just need to know that the series is good, that there will be some sort of happily ever after. I really don't know. But what I do know is that I could not miss out on the bookish box set. I really love the design of every cover. I just really need to read this at some point. I don't think it's going to be anytime soon. I think that Shadow Princess and the rest of the series I'm probably going to put off until book 9 comes out, or at least the series is closer to its conclusion. I just need to know how it ends because I'm not hearing promising things about book 8. But yes, this is one of the largest books on my TBR so far, and for those reasons, it's still on my TBR. And clocking in at 650 pages, we have Queen of Ruin by K.F. Breene. This is the final book in the Deliciously Dark Fairy Tale series by K.F. Breene, a series I've wanted to read for a very long time, and what's holding me back here? I really don't know. I don't have as much justification for why I haven't gotten to the series as much as I have justification for why I haven't started Zodiac Academy yet. Essentially, I've just been reading the books that are on the lighter side at the moment. I'm currently finally delving into fantasy romance, at least on the darker side, and for some reason I just know that once I get into the series, it will all go down from there, meaning that I will go down a spiral of just wanting more, craving more. I mean, at the moment, right now, as I'm speaking, I'm currently experiencing that with another series, so I just know that going into more dark fantasy romance, I will feel that way, and I will just need to constantly keep reading. That is a big reason why I had been avoiding the series. I also hear that the series was inspired by Beauty and the Beast. I am a simp for that fairy tale, so I just know I'm really going to love this, but I keep putting it off, and I think it's because because I am intimidated, but intimidated in the best way possible. Also clocking in at 650 pages, we have Hunting Adeline, the sequel to Haunting Adeline, the second book in the Cat and Mouse duet by H.D. Carlton. So I plan to read this book in the lead up to H.D. Carlton's visit because she's coming to Babe here in Sydney, and I am very much looking forward to that. However, as I'm speaking right now, I have not yet read anything by H.D. Carlton, and I'm nervous about the series for very good reason, but also I'm compelled for the same reason. Essentially, this series is a stalker romance. At the moment, as I'm filming this, I'm severely disappointed in You season 4 so far. So maybe, just maybe, Haunting Adeline will give me what season 4 of You did not give me. I'm not necessarily going into the series to experience a happily ever after. I'm not going into the series expecting a healthy romance because the premise is essentially a stalker romance. So I'm pretty much going into this for the adrenaline. I am very nervous about it because I know that I need to be in the right headspace for this because it seems really dark, and also it seems pretty horrific because this is also classified as a horror romance, so there's that. But I plan to read it in the lead up to Babe 2023 with the hopes that I will get my books signed by H.D. Carlton. So fingers crossed that will happen, and fingers crossed I actually like this series because I know I'm probably going to be on the fence about it. And clocking in at 709 pages, we have the finale to the War of Lost Hearts series, and that, my friends, is Mother of Death and Dawn by Carissa Broadbent. I really want to read this series. I actually got gifted this series by Camilo for my Christmas gift, and I'm so thankful for that because I really want to binge it. The size of these books are definitely intimidating enough as they are, but I'm really excited for the series. Funnily enough, as of recently, I've had a close friend really love Carissa Broadbent's latest book. They have definitely sold me on that book, and I don't have any of the books in that series, so I need to commit to what I have. These books seem to be really thick. I'd say the first book in the series kind of looks like it's somewhere around 500 pages, and then it will just all go up from there. But I'm very much looking forward to reading this series, especially because my friend recommended another series by Carissa Broadbent. So I'm going into this with the hopes that I will love the series, and I also have 5-star expectations for the series. I really hope it doesn't disappoint. I love myself a good fantasy romance once again. I hope that I find a new favorite author in Carissa Broadbent. And clocking in at 716 pages, we have Jade Legacy by Fonda Lee. This is the third and final book in the Greenbone Saga, a series I attempted to read a few years back. I actually read the first book during a Tome Topple readathon. I wouldn't say that that was a failure because I ended up completing the book, but I did kind of fail because I completely forgot everything about that book. And I just know that next time I read the series, it's not going to be during a readathon because as much as I want to read tomes during Tome Topple, this book series needs some time. It needs some energy. It needs some concentration. I need to concentrate on the series next time I read it because I hear great things about it, and I think that based on the good reviews that the series gets, it deserves it. So we will see how I go with Jade Legacy by the time I get there. But what I do know is that I want to reread Jade City so I could remember everything and then hopefully enjoy Jade Legacy once I get there. Clocking in at 725 pages, we have Glow by Raven Kennedy. This is the 4th book in the Plated Prisoner series, a series I have started but I have not yet caught up on. I still have books 2 to 4 to read before the finale comes out later on this year, and I've purely avoided catching up on this series because once again, I just know I'm gonna have one of those big fantasy hangovers that I tend to get when I love a fantasy book series and I just want more of the world, but I can't get more of the world because I don't even have a finale yet. I mean, look, when I think of fantasy book hangovers, I think of the book hangovers I get when I read a series from Laura Falasa, or at least a hangover that I'm experiencing right now as I'm in the middle of reading the Bonds of the Tie series. I just know that the Plated Prisoner series is going to become my new obsession. I just know that as I get to know Commander Rip even more, I'm going to fall in love with him. I've only met him briefly, but as soon as I finished Guild, the first book, I just knew I was going to fall in love, and oh my goodness. I don't know how, I just felt it. I hear good things about Slade, Commander Rip. Are they the same person? I don't know. Apparently this guy has many names. I'm just going to assume that Slade and Commander Rip are the same person, but if I find out in this series that they are not the same person, I don't know what I'm gonna do with myself, honestly. I'm gonna take this cover off so that you guys can see how hot he is. Like, he's so So hot. I really have to stop looking at fan art of these characters. I mean, I have a fan art edition, so there's that. I don't really have coherent thoughts about this. I've only read the first book, and I'm so looking forward to reading the rest of the series, and I have every intention of doing so this year because the series apparently concludes. But if it doesn't conclude, then lol, I'm Boo Boo the Fool. And clocking in at 729 pages, we have A Sword from the Embers by Chloe C. Peñaranda. The way I found out that this book is not the final book in the series was when I was checking its page count. I literally went into this book, checked its page count, and then saw somewhere in the middle of the page, this story will continue. I thought that A Sword from the Embers was the final book in the series, but turns out this series is around 6 to 7 books long. And as I'm currently filming this video, Goodreads won't tell you that. I could not find this information for myself for a very long time until I went to the author's Instagram, where I saw a frequently asked questions post, and that's where I got my answer. Turns out the author is also going to be starting a new series in the lead up to the next book, and so yeah, they're taking a little bit of a break. I mean, not too much of a break. We can expect the next book in the series to come out this time next year, so it's not like the end of the world, but at the same time, I literally requested Camilo to purchase the first 4 books in the series, and I could purchase the 5th, and he purchased them for my birthday, by the way, so it wasn't like he spent that much money out of nowhere. I literally suggested he buy the books for my birthday gift so that I could have the completed series this year and that I could binge read it. It turns out this series isn't even complete, and it won't be for quite some time. But anyway, that's a side tangent. Pretty much, the 5th book in the series is chunky. I can expect books 6 or book 7 if book 7 does happen. I don't know whether the series is going to conclude in book 6 or 7, and the author is still trying to work that out at the moment. But what I do know is that the next books in the series are going to be chunky. We're gonna see how this goes. I'm still very much looking forward to the series regardless. It's just really funny that this video idea was how I found out that this book is not the finale. Clocking in at 781 pages, I have Order of Scorpions by Ivy Asher. Now, I received this edition in my monthly Fabled. It is so pretty. I really love, especially under here. Like, this looks really cool, and I love that. This special edition of Order of Scorpions definitely intrigued me enough to pick it up. And funnily enough, I remember when Fabled posted to their Instagram to warn people that this book was going to be chunky, and I'm really happy that they gave me that warning because I was able to open the package with care, and I have this book here, and it's not damaged, it's in perfect condition. I am also very much looking forward to reading this book as well because Ivy Asher and Raven Kennedy have written a book series together, and that is a book series I do want to read eventually. However, I would also love to read Ivy Asher's individual works. What better way of doing that than reading a really chunky book? I don't know whether this is going to be the first one I read from her actually, but what I do know is that this is also a fantasy romance. It's got some steam. I really actually don't know much about it. It just ended up being in my monthly Fabled, and I've wanted to read something from Ivy Asher for quite some time because she's collaborated with Raven Kennedy, and I've wanted to read the series that they wrote together. So fingers crossed I get to either one sometime soon. But what I do know, as I'm filming this, Ivy Asher is either coming to Rare or Babe this year. I'm trying to remember. She's coming to at least one of the events I am very much looking forward to, so I want to read at least something before the event. And last but certainly not least, clocking in at 846 pages, we have Priory of the Orange Tree by Samantha Shannon. I have actually had this book on my TBR / to be reread pile for years. I actually initially attempted to pick this book up, and I did. I actually read it, but it kind of all went over my head to the point that I was ashamed to add it to my Goodreads challenge for the year that I read it because I could not remember anything about it. I did not want to have to write a review for it. I did not want to have to talk about it on my channel because I had nothing to bring. It all went over my head at the time that I read it. And I think the most shameful thing about this is this right here. This is a personalized edition. Or at least Samantha Shannon personalized this book plate to me. I know, right? I feel the most guilt over this book in particular. I have not brought myself to unhaul Priory of the Orange Tree because this book was personalized to me. It wasn't just signed, it was personalized. So I literally did not know what to do with myself. I did not know what to do in this situation. I didn't know whether or not to just leave it, to just give it to someone else named Grace, or to just give it to someone else in general, or to just bite the bullet and attempt to reread it eventually. To attempt to just put it back onto my TBR. To finally see it as a priority again. Because every single time I look at this book on my shelves, I think to myself, yeah, I've read it, but I can't say a single thing about this book. I can say, yeah, it has dragons and it's sapphic, but that's pretty much all I can really say about it, because essentially that's what everyone knows about it. So I hope I can read this book this year and get so much more out of it than the first time that I read it. I don't even want to count the first time as a first time. However, every single time I look at this book, I think to myself, I've read it, so it doesn't really matter. So in a way, I know that I've read it, but I just need to actually embrace it. I need to embrace the story, and I need to get something out of it, because I did not read the same book everyone else did. And that's probably because that book went over my head. Whereas seemingly everyone else who has read this book loves it. So I guess that's gonna be it for this video today, book lovers. If you happen to stay to the end of the video, leave me the blue heart emoji. And if you happen to enjoy this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you haven't yet already. Join the amazing community of book lovers. And also, I have social medias. I'm at GSwizzleBooks on Twitter and Instagram, and I'm also Goodreads. That's www.goodreads.com/gswizzle. And finally, I'm at TikTok. I'm at GSwizzle on TikTok if you want to follow me there for some bookish content. I love you, book lovers, and I will see you later. Peace.
Started out with half and I flipped it in a double. Started out with half and I flipped it in a double.